Well, good to see you. Trying to regroup from a couple tough defeats in a row. We played some good teams. We've hit the meat of our schedule. We've had some difficulties being consistent in all phases of the game, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. And after reviewing the film, we defensively we gave up about 5 plays, and they were all screen passes. If we could have stopped the inside screen, we may have. I don't know that we would have shut them down, but it would have been a whole lot closer, and that's a little disappointed. And then offensively, we played poorly in the red zone area and didn't convert some key fourth down plays. That when you try to shorten the game and slow it down like we tried to do, you have to convert on those fourth downs, and we did a poor job of doing that. They controlled the line of scrimmage, but again, they're a really good team. They don't have any weaknesses, and they play with a lot of confidence right now, and it's tough to – you're not the number 2 team in the country just because somebody just decided to put you there. They've earned that right, but I was proud of the second half. We came back, and we faced a lot of adversity there at the beginning of the third quarter, with the interception, the safety, the touchdown, and then we fought back and got a little energy about ourselves and played very well for the rest of the game. But new week, new opportunities. Play Tennessee State, first time that we've gone on the road to play those guys in 4 years. So that'll be different. Used to playing them at home. They got a good record. Very well coached, big physical football team. I know their quarterback, German, he's been out, and but still that doesn't change what they try to do. They're going to try to run the ball, play action you, and then defensively they're not real fancy. They blitz a little bit, play a lot of man coverage, and they're just bigger and more physical than most of the teams we play, and that's kind of been our Achilles heel this season. We get shoved around a little bit, especially on the front line. So we'll have our work cut out for us this week.
Was it encouraging after falling behind 30-0, then having that tough start to the third quarter, the way your team battled the rest of the way?
I think it's just something that is good for me something positive for me to say in the press conference. I expect that out of our guys. We expect them to play as hard as they can for as long as the game's going on. Now, that doesn't mean that it always happens that way across the country, but it didn't surprise me. But again, you're always proud when they do what you ask them to do, and we were in a very difficult situation. And I'll be honest with you, when we cut it to 13 points there, before they hit the long run on us. Our team, they were pretty energetic, and even though there was only 8 minutes to go in the game, they still felt like they had a chance to win. So, to take that's a small victory, coming out of a tough defeat.
What are some of the positive things you saw offensively breaking down the film after the game?
I thought that Parks distributed the ball extremely well. He was 32 of 50 on the night. I think I counted up 5 drop passes. We picked the blitz up well. He did some things there that we were able to throw high. He missed one, and the receivers missed one. And then one time they brought one real late that we didn't see. They just they out-executed us on the play. We do lack mobility. He can't get himself out of as much trouble as Mikael could. But on the flip side of it, he doesn't get himself as much trouble because he's got a good grasp of knowing where to go with the ball right now. So I did. I thought we moved the ball well between the 20s. We just really broke down when we got down close.
And you've talked about letting them battle this week, and they battle every week. Talk about that process just a little bit in terms of how that works throughout the week between those two guys taking reps and battling each other.
Well, you go in the week, and one of them is, of course, the starter, and the other one's the backup, and we kind of, the ones take probably 85% of the reps during the week, but on certain days, we'll let the backup QB work with the one unit a little bit. But, it starts yesterday. Somebody go come in, do a little extra film work, how they react to the game plan in the meeting today, how they do in the walkthrough, how they go out to practice and throw the ball around in a routes on air period. I mean, everything they do gets evaluated. And the other thing is, we got some work to do. Some of those guys they got to know how to fight through adversity. We're always going to play who we think gives us the best chance to win, and we'll see how it goes this week.
Is Parks the guy from here on out, or have you made that decision?
Well, no. I mean, again, it's week to week. It isn't like that at every position, but sometimes it's just that one guy's a lot better. But no, we'll start today with Parks as the number one, and it's up to Mikhail whether he wants to get the job back. And we had a long talk about that this morning, and I really expected him to battle a little harder last week, and Parks just Parks stayed in the front, and we'll see. It's really up to them. Whoever goes out and performs the best, that's who's going to get to play.
Do you think with Parks knowing he's number one, that might give him that thing the quarterbacks need?
Could, and you say I'm assuming you're talking about confidence in the deal, but I bring them all in, every player on the team, all right, at some point during the season or whatnot, and I'll bring, for instance, let's use Parks and Mikhail, and I don't buy that confidence. If you're a good player, you have confidence in yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you that you're a good player, but I'll bring Parks in and say, okay, Parks, you're the number one guy going into the week. Okay, you know the deal. We're going to practice and whatnot. And look here, I want you to be the starter. Okay, I'm pulling for you to be the starter. Hope you have a great week. Hope you play every snap in the game. Have a great game. Lead us to victory. Okay, yes, sir. Mikhail comes in. Mikhail, now you're going to start as the backup this week now. You've had a good season. You got to go in there this week. You got to compete. And I said, look, just like I told Parks, I want you to be the starter. I want you to go in there, and I want you to play every snap, and I want you to lead us to victory. The point is, I don't care which one it is. I'm going to play who I think gives us the best chance to win, and the only way that I can decide that is how they perform during the week.
You also talk about that you guys just executed better in that 17-point run. Do you think that will be the kind of thing that he saw he can do it?
Well, yeah, I think so. I see where you're coming from now. I hope so. I hope that gives him a little bit more confidence in himself. And again, Parks he's played really well in practice. He had a really good camp. Part of the decision to make the move is, during camp is we made Mikhail the starter. And we just thought that as time went on, he would improve and get more of a grasp of what was going on. So when we got to conference play, he would be head and shoulders above everybody. When we were kind of projecting a little bit, and that just hasn't happened like it needed to happen. Still fine quarterback, still got a lot of confidence in him, but I really think after Parks' performance the other day, I would be shocked if he didn't take the first snaps next week and play really well. I'd be disappointed if he didn't, because I thought he came a long way, especially there at late third quarter, early fourth quarter.
Talk about Mark Weinstra. You brought him in as kicker, and he did well. How's that? Is that up for grabs this week too?
Yeah, we're sitting here and talking about all the practice. They've been actually splitting reps for the past 3 weeks, and it's kind of come down to just my gut feeling on how they warmed up. I'll be honest with you. There's been a couple weeks where Weinstra was going to be the starter, and he didn't warm up as good as Benton, so we let Benton stay in. And both of these guys know that. I'd tell them right before we would go in from after warm-ups. I said in the post-game show, you always hate to put a guy on the bench after he messed up or didn't execute well. I mean, Benton wanted to kick that one through as more than anybody. But we were getting beat 21-0. Things didn't look good, and it was kind of like, hey, man, if we're going to give Weinstra a shot, this is as good as any time to throw him in there. And I told them that at halftime, and and they wasn't shocked. I mean, good players know if you're not playing well, coach going to give another guy a chance, especially as good as Mark's been practicing. And Mark went in there, and I mean, he kicked well. I mean, he really did. He had good times, good height on the ball, good distance. So he'll enter the week as the number one, and we'll go from there. But you know, I think a lot of times people look into different things, and you know, I know you guys got to write stories, and you know, you got to have something to write about. But good players and good competitors, I mean, they know. They know, and I think you know, Jordan knew that Weinstra, you know, I mean, was when he given it a shot, Mark went in there and took advantage of it. So we'll just kind of see how that plays out this week.
Also, Walter Powell's ankle, how's that?
Well, I hate to give you this news. He's out for the season. So with a foot injury, doesn't look to be too severe. Preliminary deal is he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks, which we only have 2 weeks left, so that ends the season for him. I did that for you, Ricky, in case you didn't know that. I'm teasing you, Ricky. I got to give you one every now and then. But he's, of course, you could imagine, you know, he's very upset. You know, he played a really good game, and he'll be missed. I mean, he's probably, you know, one of the top 3 or 4 most dynamic players in this conference, if not the nation, when the ball's in his hands. So, you know, that's something we've lacked. We've lacked some vertical passing game, and with him out, that really puts us in a bind. So he's hurt, and then right now it doesn't look like Zach Ross will be able to play. Quay Huzzy's very questionable. Thomas Chapman is probably out. And I say probably, you know, I mean, again, a lot of them see the doctor tomorrow. But just giving you early in the week prognosis there. And you know, that kind of hurt us there on that one big run. You know, if you look back, you know, defensively, they had to really work the ball down the field. They didn't get very many big plays on us, other than a couple screens on third down that got us. But, man, we ran out of players. And we had to put some guys in that hadn't practiced during the course of the week. And we kind of fit it wrong, and they were able to squirt through on the big one. But some guys just going to have to step up. But right now, if you could put in the paper, we'll hold some trouts for some defensive tackles. We sure could use some this week to help us get through. And of course, that's a concern how big Tennessee State is. You know, we really got to find a way to put our guys in a position to be successful with all the injuries.
With that physicality that Tennessee State brings, does that allow you to do some more things with parts, you know, not worry about them blitzing, or you think, as all teams like to do, young quarterback, we're going to blitz the heck out of them and see what.
No, I mean, that's their nature is not to blitz as much as some other teams. Now, they will blitz you. Don't get me wrong. They run their fair share of it. They just don't do it as much. You know, they pick their times when they do that. I don't know what I'd like for you to call down there and ask them, and then report back to me. You know, I don't know how they're going to see us without having Walter. You know, having a younger. Well, both of our QBs are younger. You know, we're going to try to finagle some things. We're going to have to move some guys around to offset Walter not being there. And, again, the bottom line is just try to find a way to put our guys in a position to be able to make plays on Saturday. Whether they make them, that's up to them, but put them in a position to do so.
Lamar had a good game against Eastern Illinois. Is this time for him to have an even better game this week?
Well, I hope so. You know, I thought that for the most part, other than, you know, a couple drops here or there, you know, we spread the ball out evenly. He had a good game. Pokey had a touchdown. And Jeremy Harness had some good catches. You know, Paul Rice made a couple big plays. You know, we had some guys come in there and do what they were supposed to do, so that was good to see.
Defensively, create some turnovers. 2 forced fumbles that I remember. Talk about that helping at least getting you in a good position, especially against a team like Tennessee State right in the spot.
Well, you know, you think back to early in the season. You know, we were up there in the tops of turnover margin. I mean, we were forcing them left and right and been able to take advantage of them offensively. Problem the other night is we had a couple turnovers of our own in some crucial situations. So, you know, we got to continue to do that. We got to continue to play on a short field. and really just give us the opportunity, the offense, the opportunity a little bit more than we've been getting. And if we're able to do that, maybe we can string together enough plays to score some points.
You talked a little bit about their runner, Tim Broughton, 1,000-yard guy this year.
Well, of course, they got great players, and we know that. I mean, they're always right there in the hunt at the end of the season. He's a fine running back. They've had a long string of great running backs. But, you know, what they do, they're going to try to run the zone at you. They're going to try to load it up. And, you know, one thing that's kind of hurt us a little bit this year is even spread teams have been they've been packing it in, trying to run at us just because of our lack of size up front. And, you know, we lost Demetrius Mason early, and that really put us in a bind as far as having some beef up front. So I expect them to do the same thing and try to hit us with some bootlegs and some play action. And, you know, they do what they do, and they're really good at it.
Mindset, they're a conference team, they're going for championship, playoffs. Do you talk to your team about, upsetting them? This is a time that we can at least affect someone else's season because maybe ours is not going to go to the playoffs or conference championship anymore.
No, we don't talk about it in that frame of mind. You know, what we do is, again, we prepare and work on what we can control, and that's ourselves. I think the biggest thing is when you get to this point, and like I'll discuss with the team today, the season can go three ways. Okay, you can be 6-5, you can be 7-5, or you can be 5-7. I know that's, did you get that one too? Okay. But, there's a big difference in that. I mean, you win 7 games, that's not every year occurrence at Murray State. And, we have an opportunity to do that. But more importantly, we have 2 more games starting this week to compete. 2 more games to play a great game of football. And then for the seniors, it's over with. So that's what I stress each week. Enjoy our time together. Don't compromise, because you owe it to yourself to give your best effort no matter how the season's going. And, a lot of our goals we set forth at the beginning of the year aren't there, but golly, we get to play football. That off season's long and brutal on those guys. So I always tell them, hey, enjoy these game weeks as much as you can.